I don't remember the moment I got lost. That's the strangest part. You'd think I'd have noticed. One wrong turn, one missed marker. But I didn't. It was just a day hike, something to clear my head. I'd left my car at the trailhead before noon, taking only a small backpack with a water bottle, a protein bar, and my phone. The plan was simple. Follow the trail to the overlook, take a few pictures, and head back before dark. I don't know when the trail disappeared beneath my feet. One moment I was moving steadily uphill, surrounded by towering pines. The next, I was standing in a small clearing I didn't recognize, the trees pressing in all around me. The path was gone. I turned in slow circles, scanning the trees. The terrain was unfamiliar, but I wasn't panicked. Not yet. I'd been hiking for years. People wandered off trail all the time. It wasn't a big deal. I retraced my steps, or at least I tried to. 15 minutes passed, then 20. Every direction I turned looked identical. The same dense trees, the same packed dirt, the same absence of any trail. I checked my phone. No signal. That's when I felt it. A slight shift in my chest. Not fear exactly, but something close to it. I swallowed it down. I could fix this. I walked in the direction I thought I had come from, keeping an eye out for any sign of the trail. The woods were dense, but I could still see patches of the sky through the branches. Soft, gray light filtering through the canopy. Time passed strangely. My footsteps sounded too loud on the forest floor, the crunch of dead leaves echoing unnaturally. The air felt thick, heavy, like I was moving through something unseen. I checked my phone again. Still no service. The battery was already at 42%. I kept walking. At some point, I passed an old tree with a deep scar running down its trunk. The gash was jagged, the bark peeled back like flesh. It was a landmark, at least. If I circled back, I'd know I had been walking in circles. 30 minutes later, I saw the tree again. I stopped walking. This was the moment I finally admitted I was lost. Truly, hopelessly lost. Panic slithered up my spine. I tried to suppress it. I had to be rational. People got lost in the woods all the time and made it out just fine. Stay put. Wait for rescue. That's what the survival guides always said. But I hadn't told anyone where I was going. No one was expecting me home. No one was coming. The thought sat in my stomach like a cold stone. I took a deep breath and told myself to keep moving. I walked for hours, maybe longer. The sky had started to dim, bleeding into dusk, and I was starting to feel lightheaded. My legs ached, my stomach clenched with hunger. That's when I saw it. A cabin. It was nestled between the trees, small and weathered, the wood dark with age. The sight of it sent a jolt through me. Finally, something. Proof that someone had been here before. I stumbled toward it. The door was slightly ajar, hanging crookedly on rusted hinges. No lights, no sounds. I stepped inside. The air inside was stale, thick with dust and something else. Something foul. The single-room interior was bare except for a small wooden table, an old chair, and a thin cot pushed against the wall. A heavy silence filled the space, pressing down on my ears. There were scratches on the walls, long, deep gouges in the wood, as if something had raked its way across every surface. The sight of them made my skin prickle. I wasn't alone. I turned sharply, expecting, what? Someone hiding in the corner? A shadow moving in the gloom? But there was nothing. Just emptiness. I exhaled and sat down on the cot. My legs were trembling. I needed to think. I could stay here for the night. It was safer than being out in the open. I'd figure out a plan in the morning. That's when I noticed the notebook. It sat on the table, old and battered, the leather cover cracked with age. I flipped it open. The handwriting was uneven, scrawled in frantic bursts. I don't know how long I've been here. The trees don't make sense. The sun sets but never rises. I found the cabin on the second day, but the door was already open. Someone was here before me. I turned the page. The entries became more erratic. The trees shift at night. I hear things, but there's no one else here. Another page. I tried following the creek, but it led me back to the clearing. The same clearing. The last entry sent a chill through me. I found my own footprints today. They weren't where I left them. A noise. I snapped the notebook shut, heart hammering. The noise had come from outside. Something moved in the trees. I barely slept. By morning, my hunger was gnawing at me. I had finished my water bottle, and my head throbbed from dehydration. I had to keep moving. I decided to leave the cabin behind. The longer I stayed, the worse my thoughts became. I walked for hours, maybe longer. Then I saw the tree again, the one with the deep scar. I had been walking in circles. That's not possible. I forced myself to think. I hadn't turned around. I had walked in a straight line. I kept going. 2 hours later, I saw the cabin. The third day. I'm not sure when I lost time. The hunger had turned into a sharp, gnawing pain. I stopped feeling my feet. The thirst was worse. My lips were cracked. I started taking slow, deliberate sips from the creek, even though I knew I shouldn't. The trees blurred together. I walked, rested, walked again. I saw the tree with the scar. I saw the cabin. I opened the door, hands shaking. The notebook was still on the table. The cot was still unmade. But something was different. There was a second notebook. I picked it up. It was identical to the first, but newer. The pages were blank except for the first entry. My blood ran cold. I don't know how long I've been here. The final entry. Time doesn't move the way it should. I sleep. I wake. I walk. The trees never end. I see the scarred tree. I see the cabin. The notebooks multiply. I don't know which one is mine anymore. I'm writing this now because I think I've finally figured it out. There is no way out. The trees go on forever. The path isn't real, but the notebooks are. Someone will find them. Maybe you. And if you do, burn them. Don't leave them for the next person. And most importantly, don't start writing. It's how it begins. I didn't listen. I should have burned the notebooks. I should have walked away and let them rot under the weight of time. But I couldn't. Because what if they were wrong? What if there was a way out? What if I was the first one to find it? I was weak. My body was shutting down, my mind slipping into a haze, but somewhere, buried deep under the fear and exhaustion, there was still hope. A stupid, stubborn little ember of hope that told me I could beat this. I took the newer notebook with me and walked out of the cabin. I didn't look back. I kept moving, choosing a new direction. This time I didn't track landmarks. No counting steps, no watching the sun's position. None of it had helped before, and it wasn't going to help now. I just walked. The forest was silent except for the steady rhythm of my own footfalls. One step, then another, and another. Hours passed. Maybe an entire day. I couldn't feel my legs anymore. My stomach had stopped growling. Now it was just a hollow ache. The dehydration was worse. I needed water. I thought about drinking from the creek again, but my gut told me it was a bad idea. My body was already failing. One bad sip could finish me. Then I heard it. A sound. Not footsteps, not rustling. A car. I thought I was hallucinating at first. The hum of an engine, the distant whine of tires on asphalt. It was faint, barely audible, but it was there. I started running. My legs screamed in protest, my vision swam, but I forced myself forward. I crashed through the undergrowth, branches whipping against my skin, and then the trees thinned. I stumbled out onto the edge of a dirt road. A real road. Not a trail, not a creek. An actual path carved by human hands. I fell to my knees, gasping. I had done it. I had made it out. The truck appeared minutes later, dust kicking up behind it. I stumbled into the road, waving my arms. The driver was a man in his 40s, weathered face lined with concern. "Jesus, kid," he said, jumping out of the truck. "You look half dead. You all right?" I nodded weakly. My throat was too dry to speak. "Been out here long?" he asked, helping me into the passenger seat. I swallowed, forcing out the words. I think so." He frowned, glancing at my torn clothes, my sunburned skin. "You alone?" I hesitated. "Yeah." The lie felt wrong in my mouth, but I didn't know how to explain what had happened. He drove me to the nearest town, just a cluster of buildings off the highway. The gas station clerk gave me a bottle of water and a protein bar, watching me with wary curiosity. "Where'd you come from?" she asked. I tried to explain. The hike, the cabin, the endless forest. She exchanged a glance with the truck driver. "Ain't no cabins up there," she said. I stopped mid-bite. "What?" She shrugged. "Forest gets pretty dense past the ridge, but no one's lived up there for a long time." I went to the police. They organized a search team, humoring me at first. But when they saw how shaken I was, they took it seriously. I went with them, retracing my steps to where I thought the cabin had been. Nothing. No clearing, no cabin, no notebooks, just trees. Maybe I was dehydrated. Maybe I was delirious. Maybe I'd imagined it all. The police told me that when people are lost, their minds play tricks on them. They see patterns that aren't there, create landmarks in the chaos to keep themselves sane. I nodded. It made sense. But that night, when I was alone in the motel, I checked my backpack. The notebook was still there. The one I'd taken with me. The one I had written in, "Don't start writing. It's how it begins." It's been 6 months. I'm back home. But things don't feel right. I still wake up thinking I'm in the woods. I still taste the metallic air, hear the silence pressing in around me. Sometimes I see trees that weren't there before. Last night I woke up with dirt under my fingernails. My shoes were muddy. I don't remember leaving the house, but the worst part? I found another notebook. Not mine. A new one. The first page was blank except for 5 words, scrawled in frantic, uneven letters. "You never really left, did you?" I didn't sleep after finding the notebook. I sat at my kitchen table staring at the words over and over again. "You never really left, did you?" My hands were shaking as I flipped through the rest of the pages. They were blank, just like before. But I knew what would happen if I started writing. I had a choice. Ignore it. Pretend nothing happened. Try to live a normal life. Or finish what I started. I don't know how long I sat there trapped in that moment. The weight of it pressed down on me like a heavy stone. My mind screamed for logic, for reason, for anything that would make sense of this. But deep down, I already knew the truth. I packed a bag and left before sunrise. I told myself I needed proof, that if I found the cabin again, if I could bring someone else there, then maybe I could end this. Maybe I could finally be free. The drive was a blur. The town was the same, the gas station clerk barely sparing me a glance. But when I asked the truck driver to take me back up the ridge, he hesitated. "You sure?" he asked. "Ain't nothing up there." I just nodded. The trees swallowed me whole. The moment my boots hit the dirt, it felt like no time had passed at all. The air smelled the same, damp, metallic, charged with something I couldn't name. I walked for hours. The sun moved above me, shifting the shadows. I should have felt exhausted, hungry, thirsty. I didn't. I don't know when I found the clearing, or if it found me. The cabin was there, just like before. Door ajar, table, cotangent, notebooks. Only this time there was a third notebook. It sat in the center of the table waiting for me. I don't remember picking up the pen. I don't remember sitting down. But I do remember writing. My hand moved on its own, as if the words were already inside me, waiting to be let out. And as I wrote, I finally understood. The notebooks weren't warnings. They were invitations. I don't know how long I've been here. The trees don't make sense. The sun sets but never rises. I found the cabin on the second day, but the door was already open. Someone was here before me. Someone will be here after me. The notebooks will be waiting for them too, because no one ever leaves. Not really. And if you're reading this, it's already too late.